Good morning. This is Perspectives. I'm Celeste Baragni, and I'm excited to have Scott Vallon, the Executive Director, in with us this morning. He's the Executive Director at the Center for an Ecology-Based Economy in Norway, Maine. Scott, welcome to the studio.
Thanks, Celeste.
Could you explain to us what an ecology-based economy is?
Sure. We feel like our current economy is pretty much based on the extraction of our natural resources. So it's as if we're taking our natural capital out of our account, but we're not putting back in. So an ecology-based economy would be an economy that's more in balance with our ecological system, with our natural capital. So we work with nature, with natural systems, and try to live in balance with that so we can be fully sustainable for the long term.
So you are organizing a grassroots drive to create this, to find different ways in our community to work toward a more sustainable future. How are you doing that locally?
So we kind of have two different focuses. One is to build resilience within the community to the changes that are coming, specifically around climate change and resource depletion, or especially peak oil. Our community is a very rural community, fairly poor, and very reliant on fossil fuels at this point. So we're trying to establish local food system, local transportation networks, and make green building, make shelter available for everyone in the community, and to shift over to renewable energy systems, especially locally based renewable energy, to wean ourselves from fossil fuels for both of those reasons, because of that's a depleting finite resource, and also because it's big CO2. Burning fossil fuels is a big CO2 emitter. So by building resilience, we can also do our small part to help with the climate change issue.
And what's your preferred method of providing heat as an alternative to fossil fuels?
Well, I think we're seeing within the architecture movement, like the passive house movement, just building really, really energy efficient homes that can essentially heat themselves, maybe with a little bit of active solar power, but solar power for sure. We're trying to build an economy that's really based on current solar power. And there's big urban farms actually now happening on rooftops, and they also cool the building, and also for roofs that aren't appropriate for that, if we had solar roofing.
Okay.
So we can have our roofs be generating all the power for our homes and businesses. That would also be another positive solution.
And for workplaces, do you have any suggestions for us? I know here we're 4 radio stations in one building. We don't own the building, so there's not much we can do to change that part of it. But as a group within the building, what should we be doing a little bit better?
Well, one thing that businesses can do is offset all their power usage by either carbon offsets to offset your carbon footprint, and also you could have a solar farm somewhere else to generate your power through this net metering thing. You can put your power bill against a solar farm somewhere else. And we've been active with the solar farm in South Paris, Maine, where Revision Energy came and put up a huge solar farm, and then they got 10 different people to sign up.
That's cool.
Even though you're not there where the solar panels are, you can still have access to clean solar power and be part of that movement. We're a 4-pronged approach. We find that we call those perennial needs. Those are the things that everybody needs pretty much all the time, and that's where we want to focus our energy first. In the transportation part of it, we're working on a free bike share program for downtown Norway just to start. And a lot of our projects are about raising awareness as much as they are about actually solving a problem. But our bikes do solve a problem for some people. People that can't afford cars, for one thing, can use our bikes and we have crates on them, and you can run around town and do your errands on our bicycles. People that commute into Norway for work, they can use our bikes at their lunch break or when they need to run errands, so they don't have to start up their car to drive a mile or 2 down the road. A lot of our fossil fuel use is for very short trips, a mile or 2, so we're big proponents of bicycles. We also have no public transportation out there in the hills, so that's another big project that we'd like to see happen, is some inter-community transportation with bike racks, so people can throw their bike on a bus, go to the next town, get their bike off, do their thing, and get out of our cars. So on the food side of things, we work with our local community garden. We're building a diverse food forest there. It's kind of like an orchard with 100 different species of plants.
That sounds amazing, a food forest.
Yeah, we think it's pretty amazing. Inspired a lot by what's going on here in Portland with the Resilience Hub. They do these perma-blitzes everywhere, so we have a lot of people that are coming out to install this. And it's a demonstration, again, on how our food system can be less reliant on fossil fuels. So perennial food systems like this have a lot less inputs once they're established, because it's trees and we're growing nuts instead of grains, and growing vegetables that are perennial. And then and they also sequester carbon into the into the soil and into the trees. So it's kind of a really good way to start to rethink our food system to be less reliant on fossil fuels and less polluting. On the energy sector, we're really big on solar power. We've done 2 solar installations in Norway. We went out at our community garden, and we're looking to really get into some larger solar farms around downtown Norway to try to get Norway. And we also have access to, there's 2 dams right in our town that are not making power. There's just running water. So we've got access to create renewable energy that way. On the shelter side of things, it's a little more complicated, but we are teaching, some of that's involving some reskilling. We're working with some middle school kids that are building a greenhouse up at Roberts Farm. So we've been, helping these kids get some skills. We have a long way to go on the shelter aspect of things. Our housing stock is old and inefficient. And one of our projects, we had a man come who's this kind of world-famous architect who designed the biosphere, and he wants to build an eco-village in Norway with super energy-efficient shelter and a kind of a self-sustaining community.
When
Norway.
Are we looking at that?
Well,
I mean, I know it's in the future, but but really, it's so exciting to even be talking about a project like that, isn't it?
It really is, and it seemed to stimulate the imagination of a lot of people. We had a really good turnout. He gave 2 talks. His name is Phil Hawes. He designed the Biosphere 2, that big glass dome out in Arizona, and he's decided that Norway, Maine was a great place to come and try to get an eco-village. So if somebody wanted to drop, $10 million on us, we'd probably have that thing. We'd be breaking ground before we know it. It's a long process, and we're trying to define what that would really mean for Norway. So yeah, we have a lot of things going on in those 4 areas.
What are the commons?
The Commons is the space that we are in. We're in this building that's owned by the Fair Share Cooperative Market. Mm-hmm. So it's our local food co-op. We're the only inland food co-op. And we rent this space that's adjacent to the food store. It's called the Commons. When we bought the building, the food co-op bought the building 15 years ago. A lot going on there. A lot going on in our space, yeah.
All right, cool. Now tell me about your big event that you have coming up, because it's next week.
Right. So in our transportation work, we've one of our advisory board members, his name is Fred Garbo, he has an electric car that he runs off of solar power. So he has a big solar array on his neighbor's property that generates enough electricity for him to power his whole home and his car.
Wow.
So we're pretty excited about electric vehicles. Our program director, Seal Rosignol, drives an electric vehicle. Norway, Maine is the first municipality in the state, we believe, to have a free electric vehicle charger.
Oh, so where is it?
It's right in our town square. It's called Longley Square. It's right in downtown Norway. Mm-hmm. And so for people coming from Portland, you can come to Norway in your electric car, charge while you go out and have lunch and do a little shopping or go out to the lake or whatever, and then come back and have enough energy to get back home. So we're pretty excited about that. And to celebrate that and the whole electric vehicle idea, we are having an electric vehicle expo on May 9th at 11 o'clock, and we've got some experts in the field coming. So we're going to have electric cars there to drive. We're going to have electric bicycles. John Howe is bringing his solar-powered electric tractor.
Wow.
We have electric golf carts, and who knows what else might show up. So we're really big on kind of electric mobility. On that day, we're having Barry Woods come from Electric Mobility Northeast. He's kind of the electric vehicle guru in Maine these days. Dylan Voorhees from the NRCM is coming, and then 2 big solar installers, Nauto Inouye from Solar Market and Fortunat Mueller from Revision Energy. So we're really excited about the notion of we call PV to EV, photovoltaic to electric vehicle.
Oh, wow.
And this can be done on the car scale. It can be done on the community. We could have our school buses running on electricity and have a big, huge solar canopy over where they park the buses. And these electric bicycles, we're really excited about electric bicycles. Are a great way to get around and take very little energy, so they could be easily charged off of a solar panel.
And it sounds like so much fun.
It's so much fun.
An electric bike.
Yeah.
How fun is that? Tell me about the Kids Eco Space, would you?
Kids Eco Space. I have a son who's 8, and he was 6 when we started this. And Seal and Sean Kane and Seal Rosignol, they're our partners in this as well as my wife Zizi, who's our communications person. So we both have kids, and having kids is really a big part of the reason why we started the center to begin with, because we feel like we need to do everything we can to try to leave some kind of reasonable future for our kids. So the kids want to be involved. So we call it the Kids Eco Space. It hasn't really blossomed at this point. We're thinking next year my son's going to go back to homeschooling. Part of his homeschooling will be at CB, and there are other kids in the neighborhood that are interested. So we're hoping to do lots more kids projects Right now, there's just some cool toys in there for kids to play with when they come in.
That still counts.
Yeah.
And tell us about the food co-op. How do you get involved with the Fair Share Co-op?
Walk in the door and tell them you want to become a member. We're,
that easy.
That easy. We are, like I said, we're the only food co-op away from the coast. Have about 350 family members, so it's a member-owned cooperative, and we're really trying to especially ramp up local food system. We want to build a food hub. One of the things that CB's doing is working on a food micro-distribution network, so all the local farmers can get their food to market without having to do so much driving, again, increasing the carbon footprint. Sometimes local food can have a higher carbon footprint than food from halfway around the world if somebody's driving a pickup truck with a few bags of lettuce. So we're trying to set up a network, and that the Fair Share Market will be like the food hub for our area, at least, the way things stand right now. And we also do a lot of bulk ordering. You can order your food there in bulk, and you can buy in bulk, but you can also order directly, so you can save some money on some.
Could you tell me about the 3 big projects you've got working on right now?
We've got 2 in our food space, which are our community food forest that we're working on with the Allendale Community Garden. We've got a small grant from Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and the Source from Maine Media. It's one of the main food grants, and we're really lucky to get that. 3 big community visioning sessions last fall where about 70 people came out and really got excited about this idea of this mixed food forest. And then starting in May, we're going to start laying it out on the ground as soon as things dry out a little bit, and then we're going to be planting about 100 different fruit trees and plants out there.
That's amazing.
So that we're really excited about that. We also are doing a project with Healthy Oxford Hills and Norway Downtown and the Community Garden to do we're calling it Edible Main Street Norway. So last Friday, we built all these planter boxes, a dozen planter boxes. They're quite large. They take a straw bale. There's a straw bale inside each one.
Wow.
That's going to be covered with soil, and then we're going to plant edibles and have those up and down our main street. And hopefully this is a pilot project. We'll get more of those as the years come on. So we want to make our main street a really visible display of what food can be grown in our region and have food there for people to eat as well. So those are 2 things in our food sector. And then the other thing that we're really excited about is our community bike share program. We've had about 20 bicycles donated from the community, from the police station. We do these Skillshare events where we get people to come in to fix up the bikes, and we get a nice mix of people that are really good bike mechanics and people that want to learn how to change a flat or adjust their brakes so they're more comfortable riding their bikes.
Right.
We see the bicycle as a huge part of the solution here. That's been really exciting. Now we've got all these bikes out on the road, and people come by at their lunch break and they grab their bike and ride around town. They're very distinctive looking. They have these big orange crates on them, and so we're getting a lot of consciousness around bicycles and bike awareness through that program. So those are our 3 big projects we have going right now.
I'm so excited to have met you, Scott. I was thrilled when I stumbled upon the Center for an Ecology-Based Economy, and then I Googled you guys, and I was like, this is fantastic. I have to talk to them. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Scott Blond is the Executive Director for the Center for an Ecology-Based Economy in Norway, Maine. You guys are doing great work.
Thank you.
I'm Celeste Barani, and you've been listening to Perspectives.